TrekWars, Duels Across the Stars. Episode 4, Top 5 Starships. Engage.
It is a period of civil war. Rebel spaceships, striking from the Enterprise's shuttle bay, have won their first victory against the Klingon bird of prey. During the battle, Federation transporter chiefs managed to beam secret starship blueprints to the Rebels' capital ship, the Millennium Falcon, a piece of junk that flies a Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. Pursued by the Empire's TIE fighters, Stu races home aboard the USS Livingston, custodian of his plans ranking his top 5 starships, which can answer the ultimate question: who has the best starships, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Hello, welcome to our 4th episode of TrekWars Duels Across the Stars. Today we're going to be ranking starships, and this is just a bit of fun, an excuse to talk about Star Trek and Star Wars, something we all love. First of all, can I introduce our guest from Hayden Frequencies, Stu? Introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, really glad to be here. Really great to see you again, Ben, and nice to meet you, Olympus. So for anyone watching, I'm Stu. I run the Hailing Frequencies YouTube channel. We do all sorts of unboxings of models, and I think our flagship game, if you'll pardon the really lame pun there, is we do an RPG, Star Trek Adventures, the Modiphius RPG role-playing game, which we do periodically. We have seasons each year. We're on a hiatus at the moment. Yes, Ben?
Oh. I was just sorry. I was pointing at my books up there. Sorry. If you can notice.
Right. Sorry, I thought you were like. Can I ask a question?
I was the exact same. I was like, "Ooh, Ben's got a question right away. What is this?"
Yeah. So just above my head is actually
yes.
a couple of the books from it, and for you lot on Spotify, you lovely people there. I've got a bookshelf just above my head, so there's a few things on it. So, sorry. Anyway, Stu, go ahead.
It's a really good role-play game. No, that's. I don't know what else to tell you about myself. I'm a professional actor by trade, and I'm the massivest Star Trek fan that I've come across. And any opportunity to geek out about the Starship, so I collect Starship models. It's a massive passion of mine. The Eagle Moss models in particular. I've got over 400 of them. I've got an almost complete collection. There's a couple that I'm missing, which really irritates me. But
the jealousy's bubbling in me already, Stu. Wow, that must be some collection.
Yes, give in to your hate. Yes, it does. It takes up most of my living room. So I'm here in the study, so you can't see it. But yeah, I've got glass display cabinets that literally it's like the entirety of one wall. When I the place I live, I have to make sure that there's enough space for it all. It's kind of taken over my life. And surprisingly, I'm single, ladies.
Something I did forget, though. Let's introduce us to somebody I know's not single at the moment. Is our other guest, or not our other guest, my co-host. Sorry,
Guest.
sorry.
No, absolutely, yeah. Olympus, good to see you all. Happy to be back. Thank you for joining, whether you are watching us on YouTube, whether you are listening to us on Spotify. Looking really forward to delving into the top 5 starships that we have from each of us to talk about today. And I will kick off by saying something that I say nearly every single episode. We do not talk to each other about our top 5 picks before we jump on to recording this. We do that on purpose so that we get the freshest experience, and that means that everything that we're saying, reacting to, etc., when we talk about each other's is completely unplanned. And for every single episode that we've recorded so far, so this is our 4th, obviously, episode 4. It's our 4th episode that we've recorded. Every single episode so far, we have had something which is either damn near identical or matches, which has actually created quite an interesting conversation. Sort of changes the dynamic a little bit each time, so it'll be really, really interesting to see if that happens again today. So, without further ado, if I have covered everything and you've covered everything, and we've had a great intro from Stu there, I think we're probably ready to start delving into our starships if we want to take a turnabout. Am I missing anything,
I've got
Ben?
a quick thing. I'm going to say one thing we are missing is our rules of acquisition, our rules, our general codes. Like, did we make any rules when we were picking these things? Tell you what, I'll start off with this one and see where we go from there. So, for me, I decided not to go for individual named ships. I was deciding to go for the type of ship instead of individual ones. Just because I didn't want to give the impression that I could have picked the same type of ship for all my top 5. Second rule I had was I didn't want to pick anything that was too similar looking. So there's like various versions of TIE fighters, and then there's the various versions of like Star Trek ships with a saucer and tuna sails, and etc. etc. And I just thought I'll go for something a little bit different each time. And my third rule, I was picking no moons, space stations, land-based vehicles, even hover vehicles, or stuff that was that didn't fly outside the atmosphere of the planet. Stu, did you come up with anything when you were picking a?
No, I'll be honest. I gave myself free rein on it, but as it happens, I have actually met each and every one of your rules purely by accident.
Nice one.
I mean, I have gone for a couple of named specific ships, but there's only one that you can say, well, that's a specific ship rather than a class, but we'll come to that. The rest are... Oh, no, maybe 2. Yeah, but generally speaking, yes, I've met your criteria.
Fair enough. Olympus?
So I gave myself, very similar to Stu, 0 rules this time. So my rule of acquisition, number 1, there are no rules. In fact, that's a lie, although it's kind of by mistake. Okay, so I might as well just throw this in. Every one of my starships can have multiple people, so it's not like a one-man starship, for example, like a starfighter or something like that. Every single one of my choices, you can have more than one person on the ship. That is pretty much it, to the point that there's even one of my choices that isn't really in either the Star Wars or Star Trek franchises. It's actually Trek adjacent.
Look forward to it.
Awesome. But yeah, that was it. So basically no rules. I let myself have free reign this time.
Fair enough. Olympus, do you want to go first as we're talking?
Okay, and I've ordered them the best I can. And again, the order has changed twice since we started recording already. So I've locked it in now. So at number 5, I have my choice, which is outside of both the franchises. This is the USS Orville ECV-197 from the TV show Orville by Seth MacFarlane. It is a mid-level exploratory vessel, which Ed Mercer takes the commanding chair of at the start of season 1. And I have an Eagle Moss XL version of the beauty right here. There we go there. See if we can get a little angle around without it falling and clattering everywhere. A very unique design of ships, although for anyone who has watched the Orville, nearly every single one of their starships looks identical to this. They just change in size, I think. Like this one has 3 sort of engine parts to it. It's either I think it's the smallest of their craft, only have 2. And then the sort of large battle cruisers basically look like the Orville, only humongous. But it's very fun design, very different, which is one of the reasons why I like it so much. And yeah, there's not really much else to say about it, because I've actually done, because normally I'm not going to lie, I do a lot of the talking about some of these picks on the fly. I've done a lot of research on these ships for once, and there's not a lot in this that's been published online, probably because it obviously isn't as big as Star Wars or Star Trek. Schematic wise, you know, it's got the usual shuttlecraft bay, cargo bay. It's got your communication buoys. It's got its sick bay and everything else in there. The interesting stuff when it comes to armaments, again, not a lot to talk about. You have the deflector screens, which are the equivalent of the Star Trek shields. You've got your plasma cannons and plasma torpedoes, which very much mimics how our good friends the Romulans have their technology in Star Trek. But they aren't green, funnily enough. They're blue in the Orville. The other thing that I would note about this ship is, so in Star Trek you've got warp through the warp drive, and in Star Wars you've got hyperspace and your hyperdrive. The Orville has a quantum drive, which I'm going to read this out loud. I'm just going to read straight from this. The propulsion system based on Dysonium-powered quantum engines. The configuration provided the ship with speeds over 10 light years per hour, which is more than 87,660 times the speed of light, which sounds very, very fast. I have absolutely no idea how that incorporates itself into warp speed, but it's fast. So yeah, that is my pick in a nutshell. The Orville. It is a very fun, funky looking ship. And yeah, that's me before I start rambling. What do you guys think of it, and do you have any thoughts of your own on that class of ship?
I haven't actually watched the Orville, but from somebody's reaction and watching somebody's stream, I have a feeling they have. Do you?
I have watched the Orville. I've watched all of them, and yeah, I think it's a great pick. Do you know what I thought as you were leading into the intro? I thought you were going to say it was the NSEA Protector from Galaxy Quest.
Oh, that would have been a good choice.
Yeah.
Someone else may have mentioned Galaxy Quest in an earlier episode, actually.
Well, the Orville is a fantastic choice, and of course it owes a lot. Although it's quite unique looking, it does owe a lot of its design to Star Trek. In the way you've got it's more of an elongated sort of almost saucer section. The rings at the back are kind of like the nacelles. That's how I sort of see it. So in fact,
the bridge,
it's almost
right
like
where you would expect it to be in a Star Trek.
In a really exposed position and easy to destroy. Absolutely. Very Star Trek. I mean, that's the thing. It wouldn't look out of place on an episode of Star Trek.
You're right. Yeah, it definitely wouldn't. And that's one of the things I love about the show is it takes a lot from Star Trek, the sort of episodic Star Trek of old.
It's very nostalgic. show in that regard, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fandom is is very divided over it. I can see both sides of that chasm, but yeah, I think that's a great choice and lovely to hear the details. You didn't mention what class of vessel it is, though.
It is a mid-level exploratory vessel, which, because I was thinking class, it would have a specific name. For some reason, the Orville fandom website does not list a class for it, which is quite annoying. I thought it would have had one.
I've also got the Eagle Moss ones, and I'm certain it does have a class, like a name, like a right class or so. It's not right, obviously, but
Yeah, class for exploratory.
it's something of that.
I'm scanning and scanning and scanning and scanning.
Throwing this at you.
Yeah. In fact, you know what? Because that
Insert
article does not tell
adjective.
me. What class is the USS Orville? Come on, Google. Come on, Google. Yes, I know it was a mid-level exploratory class. We've identified it's a mid-level exploratory class.
Yeah, that is actually all I'm seeing.
Ooh, hang on.
Interesting.
Cruiser class or exploratory class A. I think that's a smaller one, the exploratory class A. That is all I'm seeing as well. That's a tad disappointing.
Yeah, the exploratory class B is about the same size. I'm sure I might be wrong then. Sorry.
I am going to keep looking into it.
Heard a name for the class.
We shall find out, everyone. Even if it is, we will look into it. We'll find out. We'll confirm it on the next episode. Because I always wondered when they were on the show, on the episodes, they always referred to it as a mid-level exploratory, like very wordy. Yeah. Why not call it like a Union class or I don't know, Galaxy Quest class,
Starship class.
Exactly.
That would work.
Exactly.
Although that's been used.
True. True. So that's my choice in a nutshell. Who wants to go next?
Ooh, shall we fit Stu in the middle and
go for it? After you, Stu. You're number 5.
Go in the middle. So, not only did I have real problems whittling a list down to 5, I then had massive problems getting them in any sort of order. But in at number 5, so I've got a possibly controversial choice. You might not allow it as a starship. However, I have a backup if that's the case. But V'Ger from Star Trek The Motion Picture.
Yeah. Ooh.
I like that. I never would have considered it.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't consider it, but that doesn't mean it's not good for your list, so yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's obviously it only appears canonically in the motion picture. It's a very unique, absolutely huge vessel, although its actual size is hotly debated, and it depends which part of canon you look at as to what size it actually is, because it varies massively between, I think, 48 kilometers and 96 kilometers long. But it's so part of it for me. I get very I contradict myself on this a lot. One of the things I absolutely love about Star Trek and the Starships is the amount of detail they go into with the lore of it all, and like kind of how transporters work, how phasers work, how warp drive works, all this kind of thing. But V'Ger, one of the things I absolutely love about it is the mystery that comes with it. We know it's this incredibly powerful, massive ship, but we don't know anything about it. We don't even know if it has warp drive. It has some form of propulsion, but we don't know what. And I kind of love that. Plus, also, the motion picture is the moment when I became a Trekkie, but my 6th birthday, my parents took me to see the motion picture as a kid, and seeing V'Ger on screen and that, I just absolutely blew me away. So anything, V'Ger's obviously cropped up a lot in beta canon, with greater and lesser successes. Star Trek Online done an amazing one with it, and tying into the mirror universe as well and its mirror equivalent, which was fantastic. But yeah, I really every time there's anything comes up in Star Trek that there's a mystery behind this, like there was in the recent series of Lower Decks, there was a mystery ship. I'm like, I want that to be V'Ger.
You want to see a return
So
to it.
yeah,
What a choice.
Definitely an unusual choice, perhaps, but yeah.
Or was that from
that's my
Voyager
pick.
6, wasn't it? Yeah. That was the origins of it, I
It
believe.
was originally Voyager 6. Yes, originally Voyager 6, although at the time of the motion picture, Voyager 6 had not been sent out into space. I think we were up to Voyager 4 at the time, I think.
That's
I'm remembering that
interesting.
correctly.
Because me watching the motion picture, I never realised that.
Yeah. Because I probably didn't watch it until at least the 21st century. So yeah, it would have been well happened by the time I got around to watching the motion picture. So.
I'm fairly sure. I'm sure somebody will put in the comments if I'm
yeah.
wrong, and if I am wrong, I apologise. But yeah, I'm sure I picked that up somewhere. That it was not long after Voyager 4 had launched. So yeah, but yeah, that was Voyager 6, of course, sent out into space with its basic programming of learn what you can learn and send that back to Earth, and it was picked up. I see. That's the thing. I want to know more about this machine planet that that V'Ger crash landed on, and then they discovered it and they built the craft that that V'Ger was returning to Earth in. I want to know more about that planet.
Is there not a theory that I've heard? It's probably one of the more common ones, to be fair. Is there a theory that V'Ger, or the planet where V'Ger crashed, was like the origination of the Borg?
Yes, there are a couple of theories connecting it to the Borg. One is that it was the Borg planet, or the Borg homeworld, that V'Ger originally crashed on. Another theory is that V'Ger itself created the Borg to use assimilation as a form of learning more that is learnt. However, there was an episode of Voyager with the Vardois, Dragon's Teeth, I think was the episode, where they talked about the Borg in its infancy, which was after the events where V'Ger would have been crash landed on the planet. So it kind of canonically that has been blown out the water.
Damn.
But beta canon, that gets explored a lot, particularly in William Shatner's book The Return. They talk about that as well.
I'd have to give that a look. Yeah.
Like,
Would be nice to find out.
I don't recommend it. It's a bit...
Oh, okay.
Maybe not then. Maybe not.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
I mean, that's my opinion.
That's right.
Other opinions may exist.
Fair enough. Any more to add to that?
No, just what a great first pick. I can't beat that one. I never would have thought of it. What a great choice.
Yeah, the first 2 picks so far. No, I wouldn't have. Yeah, I wasn't expecting any of those, which is good. And I'm going to go for something maybe a bit more familiar to Star Trek and or especially Star Wars fans, and I'm going to go for the Y-wing.
Nice one.
That one there.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, the main reason I like this one is because I used to play, and occasionally still do, play a game called Star Wars X-Wings, a miniature game, a tabletop one, and I find it one of my preferred ships in that one to use, because it's got a lot of shielding, a lot of hull damage it can take. It's can take a little bit of a brunt. It's not the best mover in the world, but it's not the worst either. And it's like you could get quite a bit of a buck for your money when it comes to that game. It also does look good in fleets from A New Hope and all the other films that it's appeared in. Yeah, honest, it's again main reason I went for this because it's got a dear place in my heart from the game X-Wings, and that's the reason I picked it. It was like no other reason other than that. I did have a couple of facts I did look up because my knowledge of the Y-wing is absolutely minimal. So, it's had a nickname called the Wallowing Pigs, which I've never heard before. It's multi-role Starfleet starfighter bomber made in Kionsa Manufacturing, or made by them. Never heard of them. It would be more fun if it was made by Circa, but hey ho, a group that I have heard of, but they're more into weapons, I believe. I don't know if they appear in New Hope. And yeah, this is literally something I went by the view. Something I literally went how it looks and something I did in one of the games. So yeah, that's the. Not that you can really see it because of the light reflecting on it, but that's the card for it. I think the X-Wing games are still going. So if you ever do still want to play it, pick it up. Very enjoyable game. Anybody got any other thoughts?
What a lovely choice again. So that's both your choices I never would have thought of or considered. So that's very, very fresh. That's lovely. And the Y-wing, yeah, it's one that I remember alongside the X-wing, because there's a B-wing as well, I think, and I rarely ever think of the B-wing. But when I think of classic, like original trilogy Star Wars starships, yeah, when it comes to starfighters, those two for sure.
Stu, do you have anything to say?
I was just going to say there's also an A-wing as well.
There is.
That you can get. I mean, yeah, I agree. It's a lovely and so I've got the Y-wing Lego model, and in putting that together, that's when it's actually you mentioned about the multi-role. It's not justified. It's kind of halfway between an X-wing and a B-wing because it's got this bomber sort of capability to it, which I never would have known had I not put together the Lego model.
Yeah.
So yeah, really nice choice.
And the bits I knew about it's like taking a reasonable amount of damage. And stuff I only knew from stats that it gave me for the game, and it was just like, again, it's like one of the reasons I had it. I would usually have like the bigger ships or medium-sized ships as the like a main wing, and then hopefully like 2 or 3 of those if I could get up this score, because basic game you got to get a score of like 100 between all the stuff you pick. So like the card I had there cost 18. You can put extra bits on for a couple extra points, or you can get a better pilot and the card could be like 24 points or something like that. And one of those ones to try to make the game even. I presume it's like similar for a lot of these other tabletop games around. Not that I play many, but I presume it's a very similar kind of setup. Anyway, there we are. Unless anybody's got anything else to say, so we head back to start.
Me again. Second choice. Drum roll for a ship that I grew up with within the Star Wars franchise as I was really getting into gaming in my youth, and that is the Ebon Hawk. from Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords. Strongly recommend playing both those games. Obviously, they have aged a bit now, but they were the pinnacle of BioWare games at the time. They kicked off the format that Mass Effect then used moving forwards as well. The Ebon Hawk is a dynamic class freighter. It's actually got an estimated value of 154,000 credits. I have no idea where this where this article got that information from, but there you go. Plenty of my KOTOR runs, I have ended up with a lot more than that many credits, so I could have bought it several times over. It was very well known during the time of the Jedi Civil War. But back in the era of KOTOR, mostly as an exchange vessel for smuggling freight backwards and forwards. It was very much a smuggling ship until your character in Knights of the Old Republic seizes it to escape the world Taris. Spoiler alert for a 25-year-old game. It is again a funky looking ship. It's got a similar aesthetic to the Millennium Falcon, but probably a little bit more basic and also a little bit more clean and smooth, almost streamlined a little bit, whilst also keeping some boxy elements to make it look like it is dated several thousand years before the Millennium Falcon was an old ragtag pile of bolts. But the ship's got character on the outside, it's got character on the inside as well. Like when you're playing the game, you'll find yourself actually exploring. It's not a big ship, but you find yourself exploring it because the layout isn't a very straightforward left-right type scenario you would expect. So you have to go looking around to discover what each area of the ship is and what it does. It's not got a lot of weapons to it, but it was built for speed and escape and carrying freight ultimately. There's a hell of a lot of history and a hell of a lot of lore behind it across those two games, potentially into a couple of novels as well. So if you're interested, I would highly recommend getting into those games if you haven't already. And if you do play Knights of the Old Republic 2: The Sith Lords, get it on PC, get it on Steam, and download the Restored Content mod, because that was probably one of the first computer games that I ever came across that they were pushed very hard to release early, and they did, and it wasn't ready. So the Restored Content mod adds all that extra good content back into it. But I digress. The Ebon Hawk, it was up at number 3 and number 2 at points during the lead up to this episode as well. But yeah, it's ended at number 4 for me. Any thoughts and comments?
I did consider it for a couple of seconds, and because I haven't actually played KOTOR or KOTOR 2, I did not pick it. But I've seen a stream that's involved it, and I believe the remains still are on Taris when you play Star Wars: The Old Republic, I think.
Not of the Ebon Hawk, no, but of it is of the ship that you are on at the very start of Knights of the Old Republic. That ship is still the Endar Spire.
Oh, that's it, Endar Spire. Yeah, no, but I can see the consequences of that in the SWOTOR.
Actually,
anyway,
now you say it, the Endar Spire is another really cracking starship design. Actually, I hadn't thought of that, but that would have been a good pick in my top 5. It's not in there, but yeah, if anyone is interested, take a look at the Endar Spire online.
Any thoughts, Stu?
I think that's an excellent. So, as a big fan of KOTOR and KOTOR 2 to a lesser degree, I just think that's an amazing choice, and I'm kicking myself for not having thought of it. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. And it's interesting. The KOTOR is actually about to be re-released across the consoles. Well, I'll say about to. I think they've been about to release it for a couple of years now. But yeah, BioWare are releasing it like for the PlayStation 5 and things like that. It's getting a revival.
Yes,
I like that.
Oh, wait for that.
It's gonna be epic. There's the remake that's coming, and that's the thing, right? There's a lot of people that have been reading a lot into it because it was delayed through Aspire, I think, who were originally making it, and Sony PlayStation. Someone else moved it to their mother company, I think it was. A lot of people were reading a lot into that and causing a little bit of panic. As far as I'm concerned, it's still on the go. It's just slow burning at the minute while they get everything set up and decide the best way to it. And you know what? If it's going to take them another 5 years to get it all organized and release it, they can take that 5 years. I want a complete remaster, beautiful version that stays true as much as possible to the game while introducing modern mechanics. That's what I'm hoping for. And if they manage to succeed in that, oh my god, it'll be absolutely divine. I know what you were saying there. Was a KOTOR 1, you enjoyed KOTOR 2. KOTOR 2, maybe not so much, but you're never going to get the level of twist that you got in KOTOR 1, are you?
No. And I don't know, KOTOR 2 just felt a bit... There's like too much.
There's a hell of a lot in it, and it's very political.
Grindy.
It's almost heavy on the politics.
Yeah, a bit like episode 1.
Indeed, yeah. When they're not going, Mises, Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, that's a fantastic choice.
Before we go on to top 5 aliens.
I know, I almost started going back into top 5 movies there and started talking about Liam Neeson, but it's not. He redeemed episode 1. Right, that's it. I've said it. The end.
Yeah. Stu, what's your number 4 pick?
So, yeah, like I say, kicking myself that I didn't pick the Ebon Hawk, but very close to it. This is my... I'm going to say it now. It's my only Star Wars pick in my top 5, I'm afraid.
Ooh.
But I had to pick the ship that did the castle run in 13 parsecs or whatever. Distance of... Yeah, a unit of distance it is, not a unit of time.
There it is. Yep. There.
Millennium Falcon. And specifically, Millennium Falcon from episodes 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, not the refitted 7891.
Not the original version from Solo, not the one with the square satellite dish or rectangular. The original. I mean, it was so unique. You know, we expect to see cockpits like in the center at the front, so having it off to one side. And of course, it's a ship that has appeared in Star Trek as well.
Yeah.
Has
I remember correctly.
When in Star You've got to tell me this. When in Star Trek did it appear?
Oh, that's Stu do it.
It was the Battle of Wolf 359.
No, they did not put it into Wolf 359.
It was in Wolf 359. I mean, it's like a tiny speck in the background. In just the same way, in the prequels, the Enterprise D appears. When they're on Coruscant, you'd seen out of a window, the Enterprise D flies past.
No, I'm going to have to find that as well.
Yep.
How did I miss this?
It's the crossover everybody's been wanting, but, you know, it happened.
Right, here we go. I've got a picture up here. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I'm gonna find this. Cool. Let's not hold you back.
Yeah.
It's there anyway. But yeah, it's such an iconic ship. I mean, I couldn't not pick it. You know, I had the Kenner toy as a kid. Absolutely loved it to bits. Yeah, it's just fantastic bucket of bolts.
It is a beautiful ship.
It's a very classic. Yeah, I agree with that, and it's inspired a lot to ships to appear before and after it. Yeah, agree. Lovely. Oh, I did write down the name for it. YT 1300 Light Freighter. I believe is the classification for that.
That one is Corellian, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
If my memory is correct. Yeah. Wasn't it something that Han Solo's dad worked on? Was it that kind of thing? Not necessarily the Falcon, but that class of starships, or was it just
The
Corellian?
class.
Or was it Corellian
Was that
Starship
mentioned in
Generation?
Solo?
I think so.
Um,
Yeah.
I've only seen Solo once, to be fair. I'll
I,
have to rewatch it and see if I can catch that.
Yeah.
I've watched it twice, but I was distracted by my own cringing.
How fair enough.
It's yeah. For me, it's not. I can't really say much on it. It's not my favorite Star Wars movie. It's not my least favorite either, though. So I'll give it that. And again, nice little cameo
Ewoks
appearance at
Caravan
the
of
end.
Courage.
How did I miss that?
I say Ewoks Caravan of Courage. Is that your least favourite?
Never heard of that.
Yeah, there were two Ewok movies that came out after Return of the Jedi. Caravan of Courage and forgotten the name of the other one. But yeah,
I was about to say I'm going to have to jump on and find those, but then you said that is that my least favourite one, so I'm guessing it's not the best. Am I
they're
right?
not brilliant.
Not brilliant. Cool.
They're up there with the Christmas special. Let's put it that way.
Right. Okay. There you go. Cool. I'll maybe not bother. Brill. Cool. So, Ben, are we over to you for the next pick?
I believe so. I'm going to go for another classic, but this one's from the Star Trek universe. Not quite as classic as the Falcon, but it appeared first in. I wrote this down so I could quick reference it. I didn't quick reference it. It was from the Neutral Zone's first appearance in the Next Generation. It's the Romulan Warbore, the Daradex type. So, got.
Nice.
Okay, get there in a minute. So it's got, for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's got like the wings at the top as we have on YouTube. So anybody who's on Spotify can have a look at the video and you can see ship. It's for some reason got the gap in the middle with it, and it completely got the right words. The Enterprise D completely looks small and tiny compared to this. And it's also it's got the wings on the top for pattern decoration, and it's like the fronts. It's just one of those ones that really look good to me when you see it. It looks as a good adversary, bit scary, and actually, it's one of the ones you actually get to see the inside. Reasonable amount, which was another reason why I picked it. It's like there was a lot of ships that I was trying to choose from, and I went, what do I pick? The one that I've seen more of, or the ones that I've seen just seen the outside and like maybe the image of the bridge? But it's beautiful ship in my opinion, and reasonably unique. Unique. Any other?
Very unique. Yeah, I'm going to jump straight in. I've been chapping at the bit since you showed me that on the screen. It is my favourite starship outside. As soon as you move away from Federation, that is my favourite starship in Star Trek. It is absolutely gorgeous, and again, first time I saw it was that first episode of TNG where they're at the neutral zone and you get introduced to the Romulans for the first time in the Next Generation, and yeah, just the scale of it, the size of it, even the color against the black, it just looks menacing. It looks like it literally, I'm going to say bird of prey, because both Klingons and Romulans have a bird of prey class vessel, but it looks like a massive bird of prey bearing down on you, ready to just go in for the kill. It is a beautiful, beautiful ship. Well done to the designers who built that.
Definitely.
I love the when it was designed, they took into account the Vulcan heritage as well, the shared Vulcan heritage with Romulans and Vulcans, because the Vulcans, rather than having nacelles, have rings around the ship, And of course it's a very similar sort of with those. It does have nacelles, but it's in this ring formation, albeit a horizontal one. So there's definite sort of, you can see the cultural sort of connection with it.
I had never thought
so
of that.
much thought went into it.
Yeah, I'd
Neither have
never
I.
thought of that
And-
until you've said that. That is insane.
And the original concept for the Diderodex, I think it was before it was even known as the Diderodex, was to have, rather than it being that oval ring sort of horizontal, was to have it vertical. And that design has very recently been made canon by Lower Decks.
Yes, I saw
And
it.
it
I was
looks
like,
bloody odd and weird. But
Yeah.
but
That bit
love
I
little
did
things
see.
like that.
Yeah.
it's like the
Yeah.
California class of the Romulan Star Empire.
Exactly. Just what they were going for, I think. That's one of the reasons they picked it. But yeah, that's a great choice. Really great choice.
Just love it. It's and looks good and looks menacing. So that's my number 4 pick, the Diderodex class warbird.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Is it back to me? It is back to me.
I believe so.
My number 3. So we're into top 3 now. Is the T6-1974, which is shortened down to a T6 type shuttle. We see it in the very recent TV series Ahsoka. It's the Jedi starship that Ahsoka is flying with Huyang. I love this design. It feels very, very unique with the way that the wings, when it's in one flight mode, are totally vertical, and then as it moves into land or goes into slower speeds, entering a planet, flips the wings horizontally. It's just a super unique design that I love, and not one that I can remember seeing before. Pardon me, if I take a very quick look at appearances, actually, very bad of me, because I was saying I don't think we've seen it before. I have seen it one time before Ahsoka in its absolute first appearance in what I think is the finale of Rebels, Family Reunion and Farewell. So there you go. It was at the end of Rebels, and then it's been through Ahsoka, but it's an absolutely gorgeous ship. Not very much for me to talk about on it. It's roughly 23 meters long. Obviously, it's got a hyperdrive included. Its armament's quite light again. It's got a double laser cannon and nothing much else to it apart from that. Although it does have emergency survival capsules, whatever they are. And it's got a sort of, if you've watched Ahsoka, you'll know. But if not, it's when you walk onto the ship, it's got this almost central meeting area where the table lifts up from the ground. So when you don't want the table there, it lowers down, and I think that's the area that Ahsoka seconds as a bit more of a sort of training room. It's also used for holo calls as well. You see her holo calling with people on that during it too, and it's obviously been retrofitted and whatnot. But there's a whole section of it dedicated to Huyang's sort of lightsaber library as well, with all the bits and pieces for his different lightsaber components. It's just a very quirky, beautiful ship that caught my eye the first time I saw it. So it's made my top 3 purely out of that, and also because of its captain Ahsoka, who when I first saw her in Star Wars Clone Wars, I thought she was just this annoying little brat. Didn't like the character at all. By the end of Clone Wars, she was my second most favourite Star Wars character of all time. So you know that arc that she goes through, and the character development that she goes through across all those different Clone Wars episodes is just absolute pinnacle Star Wars storytelling, and that is another reason why I love this ship so much, because it belongs to her.
Yeah, brilliant pick. I think I've seen the inside. I remember the inside, but for whatever reason, I do not remember the outside. And I've just looked it up as now, and it's just like, actually, that is very nice, and it looks like it has like a similar cockpit that you would do, so like for the Falcon there as
Yes,
well.
it
Where
does. It looks just like that, only in the middle of it.
middle of it with the wings going up and down. So I'm doing this out of the camera there, but it's lovely. Lovely looking ship. Any thoughts, Stu?
Okay, well, I can't express any thoughts on this because I started watching Ahsoka. I got 2 episodes in, realized I didn't have a clue who anybody was or what they were doing because I had never seen Clone Wars. So I've gone back and I've started watching Clone Wars so that I can watch Ahsoka afterwards. And I haven't even got Ahsoka's not even been introduced yet.
So
I am in Clone Wars. So yeah.
On that note, sorry for interrupting.
I've never seen Rebels.
Yeah, I was going to say, watch all of the Clone Wars and then watch all of Rebels, and then watch Rebels Season 5. Which is what I should have called it, really.
10 years later.
It is. It's
I'm
Rebels
intrigued
Season
by
5.
By the wing deployment. So it sounds like it's the opposite of the Imperial shuttle, which obviously folds its wings up for atmospheric travel and for landing.
Kind of. So it's like I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this. It's like you've got the main middle section. Sorry, my hand's all the way down here. You've got the main middle section, right? And then in space, the wing, you've got the top wing that comes up this way, just straight up, and then the bottom wing goes straight down. And then when it goes into planetary, past planetary, when it's entering atmosphere and goes into planet, those wings spin, so into the horizontal. So they don't fold or anything. They spin round.
Now, do the wings spin around the hull, or does the hull spin within the wings?
That is a very, very good question. I'm going to say I have absolutely no clue.
Just a matter of
the picture
perspective.
there. Yeah, I was looking at the picture there, like I can answer that. No, I can't answer that. I don't have a clue. No idea. Totally matter of perspective.
Okay, watch that.
Thought I'd have a chance there, but no. Yeah, is it potato or potato, tomato or tomato?
It's the whole thing about why spaceships, like, in all these franchises, always meet nose to nose when there's absolutely no reason why they should.
Again, is there an episode of Lower Decks where they actually address that and they're facing off against a Romulan ship and it's literally upside down? I'm trying to remember. No, that's not Lower Decks. It was one of those silly made up videos on social media. I came across it when I was doom scrolling one day. That's what it was. Spoof, total spoof. Someone made the point of going, why didn't this ever happen? And you've got sort of Data sitting at the helm, and you can see the Derridix class Warbird out on the view screen upside down. It was like that's probably how it should be. Yeah. What do you call it? You do see it in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek verse. So in the Kelvin timeline, in those movies, you see it happen like that a couple of times. It's almost like, do you imagine in all these series that the ships approach each other and go, oh, we're not the right way up here, guys. So someone do a little maneuver, get on the communication, tell them to go like starboard 25 degrees, and we'll go this way and just sort of line up. But there we go, perfect. Now open communications. That's a very good point.
It is. I love that pick. I loved it.
Yeah, again, a little bit unique, a little bit different.
Yeah. Stu, what's your round 3 pick?
So for spot number 3, so one of the things I've loved about this is the unusual, like you say, quirky sort of choices. It's not like, all right, I picked the Millennium Falcon. We've had a Deredex, but other than that, it's been quite left field picks. And in keeping with that, my top 3 is the Borg Cube.
Love it. Look at that. She is beautiful.
Transwarp drive, armaments that you couldn't even begin to think at, and regenerative, capabilities, all the rest of it. Like one of the most incredibly powerful vessels we've seen in Star Trek, except at the end of Picard season 3. That's a whole other thing. I won't give too many spoilers, but yeah. But the Borg. So one of the things I absolutely love when they introduce this, of course, we've seen all these starships, like they're all very sleek and and dynamic looking, and this is just a block. Well, of course, in space, it doesn't have to be. If it's not going into the atmosphere, it doesn't have to be. It can be a brick. Doesn't make any difference, and so I love that. It showed that kind of that machine mind. All right, it's cyborgs, but it's that machine mind, that purely logical thinking of we'll just make it into a cube. Obviously you get other designs of Borg vessels now. You get spheres and all kinds of other things, but yeah, the cube, original and best.
Oh, there's a diamond. There's a
There
diamond.
we go. The Queen's vessel, isn't it, there, Ben?
Yes, well known. Yeah.
There is a specific name for it, and I've totally forgotten it. But it always reminds me, that one, interestingly, it always reminds me of the Borg Vinculum, which is the communication device that's on board all of these things, and indeed in every Borg themselves. But yes, Borg Cube is my pick number 3. Incredibly powerful, and huge, massive thing. Definitely no moon.
No, definitely not, unless the moon's square. Phenomenal pick. I mean, again, as you said there, totally left on that. It's beautiful, and I never would have thought about it either. Can't believe I didn't consider the Borg cube. As you said, there are other shapes. You've got the spheres, you've got the diamonds, you've got in Star Trek Online they introduced a couple of other ones. There's a cylinder in Star Trek Online, I'm sure. But nothing strikes the feeling that the cubes do. Just beautiful. They love their geometric shapes, don't they?
Yes, they do very much. That's very in keeping. Yeah, the one I think when you're saying a cylinder, it's like a rectangular shape. That's a Borg probe. It's not a probe that a ship would fire out. It is a ship in itself, but they call it a Borg probe.
Thank you.
Yes. No worries. Yeah. You've had some interesting Borg shapes as well. I mean, there's been a couple of weirder Borg vessels as well, like the one where Law commandeers the Borg rebels. That's a really weird Borg ship. I don't even know if I count that as a Borg ship, to be honest.
It's almost like they took one and retrofitted it.
That's kind of how I like in my head canon. Yeah, it's just one they've nicked from somebody, basically.
Pretty much.
Reminds me of the Enterprise one from you found them frozen in North Pole, or Antarctic.
Yes, Arctic 1 is the name of that vessel. It was a short range exploratory vessel.
Fair enough.
They were in the process of assimilating and converting as Enterprise was chasing after them.
Oh, nice episode, lovely episode, but that's not what we're here to discuss. So,
so many segues. It's just so tempting. It's so. I've already got questions forming about that, so I'll stop myself. Ben, you're number 3.
Oh, my number 3. I'm going to go for another Star Wars one. Again, this one is probably going to be one of the iconic ones, and it is your basic TIE fighter. There's not much to it. Very small ship. Uh, what was it? 7 by 2 meters length, width of 6.7 meters, and a height/depth of 8.8 meters. So very tiny, but it's fast maneuverable, good in swarms, like very similar to that idea that they act like ships at planes and like in a World War battle or something like that. So like going all over the place together. Yeah, again, the sound easily maneuverable. Again, this one's from that X-wing game I played. I don't use that very often, but my friend does, and it's like they turn like nobody's business when it comes to playing the game, and you've got to be careful that you don't get outflanked, outmaneuvered by these things. And I can imagine it being the same in the game, uh, in the movies and in the TV series. And I think it was the Force Awakens where Poe Dameron was escaping, that he got to fly it. I had the same feeling he did. It's like always wanted to fly one of those just to see what it's like.
I had the same feeling when I played Star Wars Squadrons for the first time. You hop into a TIE fighter and vroom, off you go. And for me, because it's not anymore. I took it out maybe an hour before this episode started, but this was in my top 5. The sound, just the engine sound is iconic. You know, any time you hear it, anyone can hear it, and they know what it is.
Yeah. Agreed. It was one of most of my picks. I had to have 2 reasons to pick it. One, it was iconic. B, was the sound, and it was just like. Any thoughts, Stu?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic pick, and like you say, Olympus, you know, that sound, that noise it makes. You know, I think, you know, TIE fighters, the Millennium Falcon, and the TARDIS have such, you know, as soon as you hear it, you know exactly what it is.
Absolutely.
And a really creative, unique design to it as well. You know, and I think that's true of both these franchises, you know, Star Trek and Star Wars. Prior to this, we had rocket ships and flying saucers, and that was it. And then, you know, we're now getting these incredibly unique and outlandish, in many respects, designs. And yeah, the TIE Fighter, it looks really fragile. But like you say, you get a swarm of them coming at you. Yeah. And yes, Star Wars Squadrons, one of my favourite games for VR.
Oh, I bet it is. And I don't have a VR, unfortunately, but I can imagine just how awesome that is, plugging that in and feeling like you're actually in a ship. And on the point of vulnerability, the TIE Fighter in Squadrons, I never realised this until I was playing Squadrons, has no bloody shields. It's got a hull and that's it. So you literally are in a metal can flying through the air at breakneck speed. So you know what? For all we can slag off stormtroopers to our heart's content because they couldn't shoot like the flipping anything for what they wanted. Those pilots and those TIE fighters, respect to them, because they're going out there with zero protection at like breakneck speed and yeah, brave people.
Yeah, again in this X-wing game, that's the same thing. It was like you could easily shoot one in your first shot, but you would still have like 3 or I think my friend I could have 3 ships, and he could have like 5 fully level 6 TIE fighters there, and it's comparison score wise because it was like just because of how weak the shields and stuff are. But it's like if you keep getting hit by just it's death by like 100 cuts sort of thing when it comes to that one. Anyway, that's my third pick.
Thank you very much. All right, moving
choice.
on to number 2, and yeah, Ben, that was an absolute cracking choice. What I forgot to mention on my last pick is that's my Star Wars picks done. So I've had the Orville, I've had the Ebon Hawk, which is the first Star Wars one, the T6, which is my second Star Wars one. So from here on in, it's Star Trek. And this is one which has been flitting between my second place and first place, but it's landed on second. And I wish I had a model of it. This is one that I really, if I can find an Eagle Moss model of this ship one day, I will nab it. It is the Sovereign class, so specifically USS Enterprise E. What can I say about it just personally before I go into the specs and the thing? She is large, but she is sleek. She looks very, very modern. She is absolutely beautiful. She's got all the capabilities of being an exploratory vessel. Got that out there. But equally is set up to combat the Federation's biggest threats, including the Borg. She's my absolute. She's probably my favorite starship. Well, she is my favorite starship. She's number 2 apart from the last one. But as I said, so close to number 1. It was difficult to put it that way. In terms of specs, she is, as I said, Sovereign class. She has 16 phaser arrays, 10 torpedo launchers. They're quantum torpedoes in those as well. So she is armed to the teeth. She is apparently 3,205,000 metric tons in weight. Not that that means anything in space. 686 meters long, 251 meters wide, 88.2 meters high, and for some unknown reason that's really annoying me because I'm sure we know it, it is not telling me how many decks are on the thing. Does anyone know here how many decks are on the Sovereign class starship?
Not many, I don't think, but it's not as small as the Defiant class. But
I'll need to watch First Contact again. I am sure there's a scene where Picard is talking to the woman that they've brought up from the planet. I'm sure he tells her how many decks are on that ship.
Good question. I know.
I've got in mind 27.
It could be 27. That sounds very.
I've got contradictory numbers when I'm looking at it here. Yeah, 24 according to Picard, although 26 has been reported as being something. I haven't really got into that implement, but it could also be like 27.
I mean, do you include the decks where they're just access tunnels, like basically a deck made up of Jeffries tubes? Would that count as a deck? And
that's a fair point.
And yeah, the amount of times that Star Trek contradicts itself, as you rightly say, where, yeah.
I
mean, let's face it, we've even had one starship with 70 odd decks.
I was thinking that as well. Yeah.
That is a fair point. The last thing I'll end on with the Sovereign class, or specifically the Enterprise E, because it is referenced in Season 3 of Picard. What the hell did Worf do? That's what I want to know.
Good question.
So, according to the Twitter, there's a Twitter page that is Starfleet logs, Federation logs. According to that, what happened to it is classified.
I thought you were about to tell me something there. Oh, brilliant. Well done. You had me on the edge of my seat for a moment.
I would actually like it if they just went continually on for quite a while saying, Wolf's crashed the ship, he knows what he's done, and we just don't get anything back.
He did something.
I don't think we ever will now.
Yeah,
No, probably not. Probably
That'll be
not.
one of the great unanswered.
very true.
And you know what? It's probably right. It's unanswered. It keeps us all guessing.
Yeah, yeah, it would be nice.
But yeah, there you go. So my number two
It is an
was
absolutely lovely ship. It's one we never saw enough of, I felt.
100% agree.
All right, we had a few movies with it, but in Picard, they rolled out the F, or they retired the F in Picard season 3. They could have used the E.
Yes.
Although I know they wanted, yeah. Well, they're looking at where they were. Okay. I'm kind of retconning that in my own head as I'm saying it, but
in my mind, the Enterprise F should have still been in service. There's absolutely no reason why an Odyssey class starship should have been going out of service at that point. No chance. Which is another one which I can't believe I forgot about because it would have hit my list. Actually, was the Odyssey class. She's a beauty.
but the Odyssey or the Odyssey refit, because they are two different ships.
Whichever one has the chevron separation and the Aquila class support shuttle. I think it's a refit.
I think so, yeah.
And the worker bees.
Yeah. Oh, they've all got worker bees, apparently.
Do they? Dang.
Yeah, lovely, lovely ship.
Yeah, it is. But yeah.
Eagle Moss did 3 versions of it.
Oh.
They did a regular size one, they did an XL version, and a gold one.
They did a gold one on that too. Lovely. Didn't know that.
But it was unreleased. It's only master replicas who have since Eagle Moss went bust have been selling them. Yes.
That was a sad day when Eagle Moss fell.
Yes and no. Customer services. Anyway, that's a whole other.
So I've never had an experience with customer service, to be fair.
What's your number 2 pick then, Stu? Before we go down another rabbit hole.
My number 2. So very much like you, Olympus. My number 1 and number 2 have been fluctuating between the two quite rapidly, but I've got to go with my number 2. Kind of almost bookending a little bit with Vija. The Enterprise. This one is actually the model of the Enterprise A, which is ever so slightly different to the refit 1701 that we see in the motion picture. But just an incredible design. I mean, they're so similar that, it could virtually be the same ship. In fact, the Enterprise A was a refit of the Yorktown Constitution class that was renamed and rebadged after they blew up 1701. But yeah, so there are some like minor subtle differences, but generally speaking, it's the same ship. Just what an incredible design by Matt Jeffries this ship was, and for the big screen as well to have come from. So again, like I say, I saw motion picture when it came out. I had been watching Star Trek up until that point on TV, so I was like familiar with the original series and the shape of the Enterprise. People criticise the motion picture for that fly around that they did of the ship early on and how long that takes. That is one of the most beautiful moments of the film for me, because the ship was always a major character, and that really hammered it home. The level of detail, the Aztecing that they put into the surface, so you've got it looks like it's made up of lots and lots of different panels rather than just this smooth, thing that looked like it'd been great. Anyway, but I can wax lyrical about this all day. I just think it is such a superbly beautiful, and to me, this is probably the most iconic ship in science fiction. Full stop.
Yeah.
I can't argue against
Other
that.
people will have different opinions, but
Yeah, and they're wrong, of course.
Hey,
taste is subjective.
No, of course it is. Yeah,
what a
classic
choice.
ship. Yeah, we went 9 rounds without mentioning an Enterprise, and then two picks in a row, we went for Enterprise. It's like,
Yep. Yep. Oh, the
Two
Enterprises were
Enterprise
going to
in
be
one
at
go.
the top, weren't they? They were going to be near the top. What a choice. I was never a fan of the classic Enterprise model. That one there, it was beautiful. And even the motion picture version was beautiful. And me saying I didn't like the original version of the Enterprise from TOS, I love the version of the Enterprise from Strange New World. Whatever they've done to remake it, to me, she's stunning now. But if I go back and look at the TOS version, I don't like it. Couldn't quite place what it is. But no, that you've got in your hands, mate, absolutely stunning ship. She's gorgeous. And as you said, utterly iconic, one of a kind. And she's, you show that to anyone, whether they're Trekkie, Star Wars, geek, not geek, whoever, someone who's never seen sci-fi, they'll be able to tell you what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
lovely ship. I haven't got much to add to than what you got. It started a design. It started a franchise, basically. Well,
Without
the original
it,
one did anyway, and that's
yeah.
a continuation of it.
Yeah, without it, you probably wouldn't have the Star Trek we've got today. So I guess the question is, Ben, why don't we have that as our number one?
But it is worth mentioning, you wouldn't have this ship if it weren't for Star Wars.
Oh,
You would
True,
have had
good
a
point.
different Enterprise. The Star Trek reboot series that was going to happen, or that was in plans to happen, Star Trek 2, had a very different design of ship, much closer to the one that we saw in Discovery. Well, the Discovery,
yes.
with the triangular shaped hull, but because they wanted to respond to the success of Star Wars, and they wanted to pull something out really quickly, they said, well, let's take this pilot episode of Star Trek and shove it on the big screen. And they got Matt Jeffries to redesign the Enterprise. They wanted it to be the same ship, but not the same ship. And, of course, for that big screen experience. So, yeah. So, thank you, Star Wars. That's how we've got this.
Fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, if you don't mind, I'm going to go for my number 2 pick. Again, I'm going to go for the main featured ship of a show. I'm going to go this time though for the Intrepid class starship, which is the one the USS Voyager uses in the show of the same name, Voyager. It does go slightly off the circular dome, circular. I can't even think of what that part is now.
Saucer.
Circular part, saucer section. Thank you. Mind blanks. It's more egg-shaped. That still has similar setup, but one feature I do like is the nacelles. Instead of being up on the side, or at least to start with, like the Enterprise or any of the Enterprises, A or D or E. This one's like, as soon as it goes to warp, you can see them move up, and then the side, so almost like your ship you mentioned earlier, the shuttle, so which changes position depending on what it's doing. This one changes it up to moves to go to warp. Don't know what the in-world reason for that is, but I think it's a lovely feature, nice sleek ship. But another reason this is so high is because I do like the insides of a lot of the starships from this era, so like whether it be the Enterprise D, Voyager. It's like I do like those light designs, that setups for the bridges. For the Voyager, it's like two seats for the captain and the first officer. This one does only have one pilot seat. and you have the screens all around at the back. It also has one of my favourite ready rooms. So with Janeway's desk near the edge, the doorway, and you've got like a relaxation area almost, or diplomatic area with like settees by the window, a desk, replicator in between the desk, between her office desk and the seats. Got the holodecks for such great opportunities for leisure and programs. It's one of my favourite starships because the interior is good, and yeah, very one of my favourite, or one of my favourites, my second favourite. So it's any other thoughts?
She takes a beating. She takes an absolute pounding going across the Delta Quadrant, and it's what there was it a 2 or a 3-parter around the Year from Hell, which is probably one of the only times that you see her take damage so much, and you just see her continuing to take damage, and she doesn't get repaired properly. Because the one thing I always went back to thinking going through Voyager, and by the way, I loved Voyager, I'm not nitpicking it, was the amount of battles it goes through, the amount of times it nearly blows up, the amount of hull damage it gets. How the flip does it always look brand spanking new at the start of every new episode? That
couple of lower decks members.
The Bioneer circuitry must have been like going haywire, keeping itself on top of. No, beautiful ship. What a beautiful choice, mate. Very nice pick.
Thinking about that, one of the scenes I do remember now you've said that about like repairing is like it landed on the planet and you can see everybody on the outside of the ships like tidying it up, sorting it out.
And not only that, but there's actually something else. It's first, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe it's the first Star Trek starship that we ever saw land on a planet.
Yeah, or at least of
Federation. Federation.
Yeah. Decent size anyway. Yeah.
Absolutely. I can give you an answer for the variable warp nacelles if you want.
Yes, please.
Please do.
So the reason they are level at impulse is for power conservation, essentially. They're moved into the upwards position because that affects the geometry of the warp shell. And enables it to encompass it in a more efficient manner, which is why it's able to sustain speeds of warp 9.975.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah. I like how that works.
Yeah,
but it was all to do with power conservation at impulse, essentially, and of course, like the more the nacelles are elevated, like we see with the classic designs on these pylons, the more vulnerable the nacelles are as well. So that's a consideration. But the closer the nacelles are to the ship, the less efficient the warp shell becomes.
Which explains for likes of the Defiant, where the warp nacelles are like bang on the hull, great for short distance combat, super fast, super sturdy, but you wouldn't be flying that at warp 9 for very long.
No, you wouldn't. You definitely wouldn't. But but much easier to defend.
Yeah.
Oh no, I love that. Yeah. In that case, that's my second pick.
That makes one of the ones.
Really good one. One last thought on Voyager, on the Intrepid class, is one of the things I really liked about it when Voyager came out was it was so different from the traditional Star Trek starships that we'd seen, Federation starships, but it was still so recognizable as a Federation ship.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the reasons why I went for this, because it is different and not too different. It's different enough.
Indeed, an Intrepid class was the flagship at one point, the Bellerophon.
Was it? I did not.
Yeah, Admiral Ross's ship in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah,
in Deep Space Nine, the Bellerophon.
Because didn't that appear in one of the episodes where they're having a diplomatic function with Bashir, and I'm going to presume Sloane is involved probably, but
That it was a Section 31 episode. You're absolutely right. When they visited Romulus and had the conference, but the reason why they made the Bellerophon an Intrepid class was so they could use the set from Voyager and
Right, that
save
makes
money.
sense.
why
Because it's
not?
a very small ship to have as your flagship.
So if that was a flagship, that must have been after the events of Star Trek Generations.
Yes, it was.
I think it is, yes.
Which and I never realised that Generations happened part way through Deep Space Nine. I thought it was after Deep Space Nine. I'm learning so much today. This is awesome.
Well, you think Worf joins in season 3 and he joins because
Because the
it's about a
Enterprise is
year after the events in Generations.
That now makes complete
Oh,
sense.
certainly 6 months or something like that. Yeah,
I need to go back and watch DS9.
it all ties in together.
It does. Very nicely.
Then you've got all
Not like anyone ever needs an excuse to rewatch DS9.
I know, right?
very true.
It's almost like they planned it. Imagine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my warp 2, my pick 2 for number 2 pick for this. So
That means we're on the number ones now. And I noticed a little while back when we were talking about the Enterprise A, I asked the question, why didn't we pick that as our number one? And that was number 2. So that was a silly comment I made. Sorry. I'm going to blame, I don't know, tiredness. I don't know. That was silly. But number 1, without a shadow of a doubt for me, it comes from the Star Trek show that introduced me to Trek, introduced me properly to sci-fi, and it's a show that I have a hell of a lot of love for. Ben, I can tell, already knows what ship this is now the moment I said that. It is the Enterprise D, which she's just gorgeous. What else can I say? She is for anyone again on Spotify. Sorry you can't see this. Get over to our YouTube channel and watch it there, and you'll get to see what we're showcasing. But for anyone who has watched The Next Generation, you know exactly what the Enterprise D looks like. Again, taking some classic motifs from the Constitution class, but bulking it out. She's a big lady versus some of those older style ships, but she's huge, as well as they bulked her out because she is so big. One of the first Star Trek ships that were generational. I think they use that term in a couple of the episodes, almost generational, not in terms of travelling long distances to get to new planets and colonise, but in terms of crew being able to bring their families with them whilst they're going out exploring the cosmos. It was full of schools, and it had nurseries and family facilities of all shapes and sizes, as well as the research areas that they needed for exploration, as well as being armed to the teeth again, not as much as the E, because the E was a future variant, but she was the flagship for a reason. So what do we call it specs wise? Actually not as much detail on the specs as the E, surprisingly. Obviously you've got your phasers and your photon torpedoes, deflector shields, maximum speed of warp 9.5, typical standard matter-antimatter reactor for the warp core, and it doesn't even give me the size of the thing, which is not great. But it was decommissioned. It was launched October 4th, 2363, and it was decommissioned 2371. During the events of Star Trek Generations. Captains Jean-Luc Picard, William Riker. He does hold the acting captain slot a couple of times during the Next Generation, and that guy that we all hate, Mr. Edward Jellicoe.
Oh, no. He was the right man in the right place at the right time. It was a different style, but I respect Jellicoe.
You know what? He very well probably was the right man in the right
Die on
place at the
this
right
hill.
time, but he was also a bit of a beep. Yeah, it's very unique in terms of its style and design, though it made it look a lot more modern than the Constitution class, considering the era that TNG was released. One of the very unique elements of it was its saucer separation, which, again, you don't see until there's two. There's the Odyssey class chevron separation that you see in Star Trek Online, and there is a 3-section separation on what is apparently a special NX class starship that you see in Voyager and Prometheus, USS Prometheus, is that right?
Yeah,
three-way separation for that.
Yeah. So those three aside, I don't think we see another form of saucer separation style like that. And the D was absolutely the first. Beautiful starship for a beautiful TV show for a crew which a cast, I should say, that are very close to my heart, introduced me to sci-fi and Star Trek, and which is why I loved Picard season 3 so much, because yes, it was a love letter to the fans done the right way, and yeah, beautiful to see the D in action again.
Definitely. Interesting you say about the source separation, that's the first time we see it. But did you know that the previous Enterprise, the Constitution class, had that facility?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they never utilize
We
that?
just never saw it. It's in the original manuals.
I
believe you had to go
Technical specifications.
If I'm right, you have to go back to Starship to be able to put them back together again. But I don't know how accurate that was. But
yeah,
that would actually
but
explain.
It was like an emergency situation. Yeah,
that would actually explain why when you see the Enterprise blowing up, the saucer ends up completely separate at one point, which in some ways you would expect because of the way it's designed, but actually, maybe that makes sense that it would go that way now. Because before I just thought, well, hang on a minute, was the saucer still in like an intact piece when it's meant to have blown itself up? But that's probably why.
It's a concept that Gene Roddenberry wanted to incorporate into the series, and had the series have gone beyond its original 3-year run, we probably would have done at some point, but it just never happened. And why it didn't happen in the animated series, I don't know.
At least he finally was able to do that with the Enterprise D.
Yeah,
definitely.
and straight in there, encounter at Farpoint.
Yeah.
First thing we're going to do with this ship is split it apart.
Show us off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favourite ships. Absolutely love it. Love the layout of the bridge. I know colour is not everybody's cup of tea, but
you gotta love the carpets, though. You gotta love the carpets. Carpets on a starship. I mean,
yeah.
Carpets on a starship is almost more divisive than the whole Tuvix thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, fantastic ship.
I'm glad somebody has picked that. I'm really glad somebody did.
There was literally, as I said, it's been flitting with the E, but in reality, it was always going to end up on top for me because of that connection I've got with the Next Generation show.
Haven't we seen it destroyed on screen something like 20 odd times?
If you've watched the same episode the number of times I have, then probably, yeah. Or the same movie. But no, you're right. You're right.
20
when you consider,
separate times.
Isn't there the one where you had multiple enterprises jumping in as well? They shot one there.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was Best of Both Worlds. No,
Yes,
no.
thank you.
All Good Things.
Oh.
That was All Good Things.
Oh, that's not the one I was thinking of,
was
but
it not?
all good things as well. There's one where Worf is jumping times and realities. I forgot the episode name.
I forgot about that.
And suddenly
I can't
all
remember the name of it.
realities came together. There's one that said, "No, look, I can't let you do this. We need help." There's, I think there's Riker and possibly somebody else on this one in a complete state, and it was like before they could do damage to everybody else, it was like they blew that one up.
Does the episode where Beverly Crusher ends up in a pocket sort of reality where everyone's slowly disappearing, does that count? Because you don't see it blow up, but it's certainly being destroyed from the outside in.
Yeah,
Wasn't that a pocket universe created within her own imagination, though? So.
good point.
No, I don't think so. No, it wasn't, because she had completely disappeared out of the physical realm that everyone else is in, because it cut scenes 3/4 away through the episode to Wesley with the others trying to find a way to get her back, and there's this big bright white portal thing that she has to like get herself through.
Yes.
One of his experiments, though, wasn't it?
It was a warp bubble. It was some type of bubble that he created that she got trapped inside, I think.
Yeah.
But I get your point, because it was her trapped in the bubble. It wasn't the Enterprise itself.
That shaped the pocket universe that she was in. Was her thoughts about, like, you know, people disappearing from your life, and
Yeah.
and being left alone.
Yeah. You're right. There are loads of episodes where the Enterprise goes kaboom.
I mean, there's one episode where it blows up a lot because time keeps repeating.
Oh, yes.
Is that the one where
The Bozeman? Or is the close was the Bozeman? Or...
Yes, Captain Fraser. Yeah,
I was trying to remember is like
yeah.
the show. And
The Bozeman. Yeah.
Don't
That's
usually
the one.
remember those the ship names, but for some reason I did on that one. Where it was like they ended up using Data was like number 3, I think, wasn't it? I had to remember that.
Used the number 3 for his own suggestion. Yeah.
For a reminder.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and find that one. I can't believe I don't remember it.
It's a good episode.
Definitely.
Good
I really love that episode.
That is what I love about The Next Generation as well, to get away from Starships for a second. It managed to go on for so many seasons and so many episodes that with the first 2-3 seasons aside, I've watched it all so many times, but with the exception of those first 3 seasons, I always find episodes that I almost forget about. Almost, because I know if I find that episode and turn it on within 30 seconds, I'll remember it. But, yeah.
Now, what's it, over 800 episodes now? Well over that, I think, now.
7 years, 20 odd episodes season. So that's 140. Oh, dude, yeah. There's lots.
So, do you want an extra 10 numbers? I think is that 10.
Yeah.
There were 176 episodes in The Next Generation.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Lots and lots.
Anyway, Stu, what is your top pick?
So my top pick is one that is especially meaningful to me on a very personal level. And if I present this to you, name the ship.
Is it Livingston by any chance?
It is the Livingston, yes. Well done. Well done. Yes. So I've got an XL Defiant that I've replaced decals on.
Lovely.
to make it the Livingston. But my favourite model, and I'm only showing you this one because it's much bigger. But the pride of my entire collection is this model of the Livingston. You can see there, or for the people who are watching, can see it anyway, because this one. So the Livingston, right, I'll explain about the Livingston first for the viewers. So the Livingston is the main ship in the Star Trek Adventures roleplay game that I run, and the Livingston is the ship on which the game is set. So this particular model was 3D printed by one of our players, Matt, who I believe you've met already, and painted by Ed, who is another of the players, and it is just so incredibly special to me. But for the purposes of the screen, it's easier to see this one. The Livingston itself, to give a bit of background, we ended up with this in our session 0. We rolled for what type of ship the players would be. I gave them the option, you can either pick your ship from a list or we can roll for it. They chose to roll for it, and they chose the Defiant class, which I was ever so pleased about because it's definitely up there as one of my favourite classes of ship by far. The Livingston itself, however, is not a normal Defiant class. It has an NX registry, which means it's a prototype, because physically speaking, it is larger than a normal Defiant class. If you were to get the Defiant next to it, it'd be about 80% the size.
Okay.
So it's that bit bigger. So it's got more, like it's got a proper sick bay, for example. It's got a ready room. It's got a canteen and storage bays and things like that. So it's got much more versatility. But here's the thing: it's not a Starfleet vessel. It operates, or did operate, originally as a Starfleet vessel. Spoiler alert for anyone who's not watched our show, but it's a Section 31 vessel.
Ooh.
So it has some fancy bits to it. One of which, very similar to the Defiant, it has a cloaking device. It has a few other surprises, but one of which, this nose section, actually detaches away and operates a bit like a Captain Shuttle. So it can operate as a support vessel. It has more shuttles than a standard Defiant has. There's maybe some other special bits to it that the players haven't even found out yet. That they might do one day, but yeah, that's got to be my favorite Star Trek vessel because of my connection with the game and the amount of joy that running them. I play with some. I mean, Ben, you're a regular watcher. You'll know. The players have thrown themselves into this game, and we have such an amazing time, and it's brought us so close together. And it just like the way in which they've embraced it all. This quirky little thing I wanted to do. Yeah, I get very moved by it all. So
I'm really glad you picked that, and yeah, I do love watching it. That's why I keep coming back and watching it. And please, anybody who goes there, head to Hayden Frequencies and YouTube. I believe you're on Twitch as well, and go watch it.
Give them a follow, give them a like, give them a subscribe.
Yeah. Yes,
please.
Yeah.
What a choice! What a choice! Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. It's also 2 reasons I'm glad you've done it. A, because it has a meaning to you. B, because it's a Defiant class, even if it is a retro Defiant class, and it's like, yeah, I thought we were going to miss out on that. So, and at the moment, just to give you a heads up, we've got potentially 2 Voyagers, depending on how you count it. 3 Enterprises, and I don't believe anybody has yet repeated any of the uh, ships, which I am completely surprised about. I was expecting a couple of repeats here.
It's the first episode that we've done where we haven't had a repeat.
But and I'd be slightly contrary, and technically this is a different ship, but this is my pick, and it is the Borg Tactical Cube, which is basically an upgraded version of the Borg Cube, with just extra shielding on the outside and some shielding on the inside of it. And with all this, me making notes as I went along, I've changed my thing. Central plexus, I believe, unlike the normal cubes, has got an extra multi-regenerative security field around it, which is something when it appeared on the TV series of Voyager, managed to stop a away team of Tuvok, I can't even talk here, Tuvok, Janeway, and Torres, who went to try to take something from a Borg ship, and actually got them assimilated because that stopped them getting into the I was about to say into Unimatrix. Unimatrix is the episode, but into the central plexus. It's just if a Borg cube can be toughened up, which is hard to believe, this is the one to be toughened up. And it appeared in a very interesting, enjoyable episode where a great cliffhanger between part 1 and 2, with seeing Tuvok, Janeway, and Torres simulated as the cliffhanger at the end of the episode. And again, for the reasons that were mentioned before, it's the shape, which you don't need. You don't need aerodynamics for space. It's very alien looking. It's very cyborg looking, and it's the way they pack crew in, or you couldn't call them cube, but the drones in with all the bays, them basically standing next to each other in a very small space. Like it's very fearsome, and I love it. Of the Borg cubes, and I had to go for that one mainly because that's what the that's what one I had in here to show off on the YouTube channel. So
Again,
anybody else had more?
Beautiful choice, mate. I would count that as a separate ship. I'll agree with you. It's a separate ship, but it does also mean that we can still say, yep, there you go. There's another episode. We almost kind of have a similarity there. So that's four in a row, guys. I am also saying that. That's 4 in a row now. Yeah, you know, and that's 2 Borg vessels picked out of the list, which just shows how unique and impactful that alien species is in the show. Yeah, nothing much else to add, but lovely pick to round off our choices.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah.
In terms of scale, I always got the impression that the tactical cube was quite a bit smaller than the standard Borg cube. Is that the case, or is it the same size?
It hasn't given me the measurements on the bits I'm looking for, and I get that impression as well. It does appear to be smaller. If anybody does know, please put it in the chat below here, or I believe there's a chat on Spotify as well, and as well as YouTube. Please put it in. Interesting to actually know, but I know you can still fit thousands of drones on there. But that's saying much, but
yeah, cracking choice.
Yeah. So we may find out an answer very shortly, just for reference. But if we don't, just for heads up, he got in third place. This is the second time we've had a third place in a Star Trek versus Star Wars battle. I'm glad somebody else is getting on the bandwagon of adding something different in here.
Yeah, need to change
got
it up.
the Orville with 1 vote. Star Wars with 5, and I thought I was going to win for a while after the early picks, and then Star Trek with I've got 7 written on one, but I think it's 9 according to our second count. Hang on, yeah, second count. So
You know, that's what, 4 episodes in a row now Star Trek's won. I did not see this. I thought Star Wars would have started winning something by now.
And I have been desperately trying not to fix my picks to go just to give Star Wars a helping hand, but I love them all. I love all the ships from Star Trek and Star Wars. I love them both, and it's the reason I suggested this Olympus in the first place.
Yep.
I love them all. Yeah.
And I'm the same. I love both franchises so much. I mean, well, I've got Revenge of the Sith films. What do you call it? Like film stills up right in front of me. 2 Star Trek plates either side of it. You know, it's I love both of them so much. But yeah, as I say, surprising that Trek keeps winning so much in these episodes.
Yeah.
We need to see if that continues or not.
Definitely. Hey, what shall we go around the corner? Where can we find the Olympus?
For me, I'm on Twitter at Olympus0511. I am on Twitch at Olympus0511. I am on Discord at Olympus0511. You get the pattern here, guys. I've gone for the same name for everything, keeps it pretty easy. But no, I'm on Twitch. I stream a variety of different games, majoritively sci-fi, Star Trek, Star Wars themes, with a couple of extra stuff thrown in. I've been playing a bit of Assassin's Creed recently again, going back to the roots of that, which has been good fun. So yeah, feel free to jump on any of those areas, give me a look, and if you like what I'm presenting, then please give me a follow. It'd be much appreciated. Ben, where can we find you, mate?
So you find me at TrekWars it's TrekWars Fantasy on Twitter because it won't take all the letters. I'll put my Discord in chat. You'll find me on both those locations. May even find me in chat on Olympus's streams as well. What I want to do now is leave this to our guests, and I'll just say thank you for coming, Stu. It's nice to talk to you again and hear what you have to say about ships and starships and franchises.
And to round off, I know we said earlier on, Stu, but if you can just give us a quick couple of points about where people can find you as well, that'd be great.
So I mean, I'll say thank you both so much for having me on and geeking out like this. This is the dream to me. It's this sort of conversation. So this has been an absolute and also incredibly difficult. Like, why only 5? You know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's tough, isn't it?
It really is.
Was this?
So yeah, you can find the Hailing Frequencies channel, which is like a general kind of all-round geeky channel, with a lot of focus on Star Trek. But we do move on to other stuff as well. Find it on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Twitter, just by searching Hailing Frequencies and looking for this symbol here. And if you want to follow me personally on Twitter, I'm at Stu Jackson Actor. There we go.
Oh. Yeah. No, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Oh.
much for joining us, Onze. I've absolutely loved doing this with you. It has been a phenomenal episode, and like you said, just being able to sit and completely geek out with you guys for an hour or two about this stuff. It's so cathartic and just so, I get so much out of it, guys. So just thank you both for this, and Shu, special thanks for you for agreeing to come on and do this with us.
My absolute pleasure.
Great. Well,
Thank
without
you.
any further ado, then, may the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
See you all again soon.
See you later. Enjoy.